I'm late. I'm really late. If you want to make an impression on your employer, computer lights on. Whew, that was close. Note to self, turn the lights on before you run into a room next time. Now, let's get this show on the road. Computer, begin subspace transmission.
Acknowledged. Subspace transmitter online. Opening channel.
The most mind-blowing stories from across the universe. Exclusive interviews. Your most outrageous shore-leave shenanigans. All of this and more starts now on your StarBase 118 Subspace Briefing. Coming to you live from the newly opened Quantumly Creative Studio on Mars, I'm Jerry Gray. Well, dear listeners, we here at the Galactic Entertainment Network may have a short show planned for you tonight, but that doesn't mean it's any less exciting. So, dear audience, without further ado, I give to you Lieutenant Junior Grade Lazarus Davis with your Lazer Focused segment.
You know, instead of worrying too much about how they work, mostly because it's very difficult to explain in a way that makes any sense, let's talk about who steps onto a transporter pad and who steps off of one. Hi, I'm your host, Lieutenant Junior Grade Lazarus Davis of the USS Constitution, Assistant Chief Science Officer. Yeah, it's Lazer Focused with Lazarus, and we're talking about the transporters. So, transporters, briefly, deconstruct matter, turn it into a compressed data stream, then assemble an exact copy remotely. Now, do you see the question here? If I step onto a transporter pad and beam down to the surface of a planet, who steps off the pad? Or rather, who materializes down on the planet? So, my corporeal existence is destroyed and reassembled elsewhere, oftentimes with a totally different set of atoms. The knee-jerk reaction might be that I'm not me anymore, but rather a copy, and the real me is dead. The real me died the first time I stepped onto a transporter pad. Now, interestingly enough, several societies have wrestled with this issue, even millennia before transporter technology. Ancient Vulcans had the parable of the sands of the desert, ancient humans had the ship of Theseus, but both pose the same central question. At what point does something stop being itself and starts becoming something else? When you replace a single grain of sand in the desert with an identical grain in the same spot, is it still the same desert? Well, of course, but what about 2 grains? Sure, but 1,000? And, you get the idea. By most measures, the desert stays the same, even if you replace each grain of sand with an identical grain. But, at the same time, we feel something tugging at us. If you were to replace every grain of sand, then how is it the same desert? Maybe the ship of Theseus is easier to follow. Imagine an old wooden sailing boat. Perhaps the sail gets tattered by a storm, so you replace it. Is this still the same boat? Well, of course. How about the masts? Sure. And the hull? What if you replace every single plank, nail, rope, etc., but you only do it one by one? How many planks do you have to replace on this boat before it becomes a different boat? Now, to complicate things further, say you, get stabbed through the heart by a Nausicaan over a game of Domjot, something foolish like that. Then you're given an artificial heart. Are you still you? See the problem here. This is the challenge with transporters. They make identical copies down to the atomic level of people. But if you're made out of all new matter, aren't you a copy and not the real thing? But in every sense but literal, different atoms of a given isotope are completely identical. They are the same. They're interchangeable. If they weren't the same, they wouldn't be the same isotope or the same element. So it is in this science officer's humble opinion that it all boils down to this. Your you-ness is your mind, your personality, your conscious and unconscious mind, all of it. Bodies are always growing, aging, and changing, and so are our minds, but there's a continuity of experience there. So to me, it's all about that continuity of experience. It's all about the mind. And our minds, despite religious claims to the contrary, are inexorably connected to a physical reality. That's not to say we definitely don't have souls, pas, or katras, but transporters are an easy way to demonstrate that if the physical configuration of atoms and particles is recreated exactly, then so is the person. Not a copy of them, but literally them. This one goes out to Tommy Riker, wherever you may be.
Wow. I don't know much about transporters, I don't know how they work, and quite frankly, I don't care. I prefer to walk whenever I can because I love my exercise, honestly. That being said, I do agree with him here. It's a question of who do you think you are? If you think you are the same person after you come out of the transporter, then I think that you are the same person. But my opinion isn't the one that matters here, it's yours. And this is why I love these segments. They always get me to think, and they always show me things from a new perspective. Well, that's all I have to say about that, and with that, I would like to take the time to thank you, Lieutenant, for contributing to today's broadcast. Peace out, everybody.